Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to
Family Math number 38.
Family Math number 38. Today we're going to figure out the volume of an apple. Hooray! Okay, so what sort of shape does this apple look like?
Sphere.
A sphere?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you know how to figure out the volume of a sphere?
No.
No?
No.
You know? Okay, so the volume of a sphere, I'm just going to tell you the formula. 4/3 pi times the radius cubed. Okay? So what does the radius mean? What's the radius?
It means from the middle to the, it's the distance from the middle to the outside.
Okay, now this is not a perfect sphere, right?
Yeah.
It just sort of looks a little bit like a sphere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see if we can measure. Can you come around over here?
Mm-hmm.
The other way to measure the radius is it's half the distance from the bottom to the top.
Yeah.
Right? So what does that look like? How far does it look like it's from the bottom to the top?
2.5 inches.
Well, in centimeters, sorry.
Oh.
Centimeters would be easier to measure it.
About 7 centimeters.
About 7? Okay. And just for double check, let's measure it this way too. What do you think?
Yeah, about 7.
About 7? Okay. Awesome. So does that look right to you too?
Yeah.
You want to measure it off camera just to double check? And sorry, I spilled on the whiteboard. Okay, so if the diameter is 7 centimeters, what's the radius?
It's 3.5 centimeters.
Okay, so we have this very complicated calculation. 4/3. It's hard for me to write. Just sneak under the camera. 4/3 times pi. What's pi approximately?
3.14.
What is it?
3.14.
Okay, 3.14. 4/3 times 3.14 times 3.5 cubed. Goodness gracious. Does anybody know what that is? Guess what? I forgot to bring a calculator. Ah! Hold on, let's turn the camera off for a second. Okay, sorry about that. That's about roughly 180 centimeters cubed. We forgot our calculator, which was an important part of this experiment. Okay, so we found we think that if this apple was a perfect sphere, and is it a perfect sphere?
No.
No. It would have a volume about 180 centimeters cubed, and here's how we're going to measure the actual volume approximately. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, it turns out that water has a volume of 1 milliliter of water, which is how you measure water, is 1 centimeter cubed. So if you have some water in a measuring cup, like you probably have a measuring cup laying around your house, like we do, right? You measure the water by looking at the lines. This is going to be hard to see on camera, but can you see over here? What does it say about how much water is in here?
350 milliliters.
350 milliliters. Can you see that? So it's about 350?
Yeah.
Okay, 350 sits right on that line there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's lucky. So we start at 350 milliliters, and then we're going to put the apple in, and see if you can tell me what it says after I put the apple in. How high up is the water? The apple's going to float a little bit, but I'll push it down on the stem. What is it up to about now? Very roughly.
About a pint.
About a pint. Yeah, we need it in milliliters though, which is over here.
It's 500 milliliters.
500 milliliters. Oh, sorry, I wrote 35 milliliters before, but it wasn't 35. What was it?
350.
350. And it went to 500 with the apple. So what's the volume of the apple? If the water level without the apple was 350 and with the apple was 500, the volume of the apple is?
It's 500 minus 350.
And that is?
150.
150. The volume is approximately 150. Do you remember what we thought it was before through our math calculation?
About 180. That was the perfect sphere.
If it was a perfect sphere, its volume would have been about 180, and when we measure it, it's about 150. And here's the neat thing. Obviously, this is not a perfect sphere, right?
Yeah.
Okay, obviously not a perfect sphere. But you can use this difference in water to measure something that's not a perfect sphere at all, right? Like this pear.
Sure.
Do you have a name for this shape? Not really. Not really. So let's put the pear in. The water starts at 350, right? Mm-hmm. And then we put the pear in the water, and I'll push the pear all the way down. What's the water level now?
It's about the same.
About 500. Hey, how about that? So this pear, which is now soaking wet, is about the same volume as this apple. How about that? You see how the sphery part of the pear is a little smaller, but it's a little taller up top? Those two have about the same volume. So that's a pretty neat thing you can do to use to measure the volume of something. And do you know a famous time in history where somebody dunked something in some water to measure its volume?
The Archimedes. Archimedes dunked the king's crown.
In water to measure its volume, to see what? Why did he do that?
Because he thought the crown was a fake.
He thought the crown was a fake. He wanted to see how much volume it was, so he could tell if it was gold or not. Pretty cool, right?
Yep.
All right, good job today, guys. We found the volume of an apple and the volume of a pear, and we also estimated the volume of an apple using math, and we were pretty close, right?
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Good job. Apple 5.